Akademiks. Can't ride no way.
We dealt with the Pope dying last night. We should get into the Shannon Sharpe stuff. So I'm going to pull the documents, but I don't know if you guys care to hear all the details. Was very important with all of this shit is that it's the same lawyer that shaken down
or
tried to shake down Jay-Z and also Diddy. Okay? So Tony Busby, the guy who opened up a hotline for Diddy to say all accusers should call in and leave a message about whatever, and we're going to call them back and vet it. And they said they had thousands of people who did it. They said they vetted and confirmed 120 victims of Diddy, all to find out a bunch of these cases are getting dismissed. And one really flipped in their face when they tried to add Jay-Z a part of it. It turned out really bad, and pretty much the victim was almost admitting, damn near, allegedly, that they were almost coerced to kind of even file this particular lawsuit against Jay. Tony Busby's not representing a woman coming out against Shannon Sharpe. And
let's
get to some of the details. I don't have the full paperwork in front of me, so I'm going to go with law and crimes rather than reading everything verbatim. Here we go.
The Texas attorney who targeted Sean Diddy Combs with dozens of civil lawsuits on behalf of John and Jane Doe's allegedly victimized by the music mogul has a new target in his sights. NFL legend Shannon Sharpe. A brand new lawsuit was just filed in Nevada claiming Sharpe was manipulative and abusive and eventually sexually assaulted a Jane Doe, with the latest claims allegedly happening as recently as January. We got our hands on the filing, and we're going to break down everything you need to know. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Tony Busby's back. The lawyer who went after Sean Combs, Jay-Z, we'll talk about that. Well, he is still swinging at high-profile men that he claims are abusers. This time he's calling out Shannon Sharpe, the 56-year-old NFL superstar turned podcaster.
Now, what's also important, and I am going to interrupt for a little bit. So there was rumors that Shannon Sharpe was about to sign this Shannon Sharpe $100 million deal, right? It was supposed to be like almost like a deal that maybe seemingly would be kind of close to what we were hearing is being done with Pat McAfee, right? Where there might be some syndication on the network of like ESPN, but he was going to be allowed to do his thing, and you know what I mean, they're just taking advantage of this whole Club Shay Shay thing that's really popular, right? Obviously, shit. I'm wondering if Cat Williams sit back and says, "Yo, I know my episode alone increase the value of whatever you would have got at least by like $30 million. Nigga, slide me five, nigga. What's up?" You get what I'm saying? But anyway, there was reports that he was nearing a historic $100 million deal for the Club Shay Shay podcast. And then this comes out of the blue, which, by the way, you know, now you guys could kind of, you get the drift. They're going to try to drop these lawsuits to try to embarrass you, to fuck up deals. And it usually comes out at times after they've tried to get you to pay or extort you beforehand, right?
And commentator. Brand new lawsuit filed against Shannon Sharpe. We got a copy of it right here. It was filed out in Nevada. We're going to go over it. But Shannon Sharpe, in case you don't know who he is, he played 14 seasons in the NFL with the Denver Broncos, the Baltimore Ravens. He was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2011. After he retired, he spent time as a sports commentator and analyst. You might remember that he co-hosted Skip and Shannon Undisputed with Skip Bayless from 2016 to 2023. Bayless and his then employer, by the way, Fox Sports, they face their own accusations of sexual misconduct in a separate filing from earlier this year. We covered it here on Sidebar as well. Now, Sharpe is part of the sports podcast space. He hosts two shows, Club Shay Shay and Nightcap. In fact, you remember his interview with comedian Cat Williams in January 2024 on Club Shay Shay? That helped spark, I should say, a renewed interest in Sean Diddy Combs and his alleged bad behavior at his infamous parties. Got a lot of people talking.
Now, I've had to turn down $50 million 4 times. 4 times. Just to protect my integrity and that I was telling you about.
Why they bleep tight hole?
Because P. Diddy be wanting the body. And you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did. I did.
But now it's Shannon Sharpe who's in the spotlight for his own accusations of abuse. Because on Monday morning, Texas attorney Tony Buzbee announced on his Instagram that he'd filed a $50 million lawsuit in Nevada court against Sharpe. On Instagram, he wrote in part, "I'm extremely proud to represent..."
Let me read the whole thing. Late last night, the Busbee law firm filed a civil lawsuit on behalf of a brave young woman who alleges she was brutally sexually assaulted by the former NFL player, Shannon Sharpe, on multiple occasions. The last incident occurred in January 2025. The lawsuit under the pseudonym Jane Doe lays out a pattern of intimidation, manipulation, and abuse, including allegations of Sharpe repeatedly threatening to choke and slap her. The case seeks $50 million in damages. The case is on file in Department 11, Clark County State Court, Nevada. The county where the alleged conduct occurred. The egregious and concerning facts of the case are set forth in detail in the public filing. I'm extremely proud to represent Jane Doe. It takes a great deal of courage to stand up against those with power, fame, and money. I look forward to pressing this case in court.
Jane Doe. It takes a great deal of courage to stand up against those with power, fame, and money. I look forward to pressing this case in court. So we're going to go over this, but I want to first bring in John Clune, civil attorney who litigates on behalf of survivors of sexual abuse and sexual assault. John, so good to have you. And again, this is kind of breaking news. I didn't have an opportunity to fully go through this lawsuit, so you and I are going to break this down in basically real time. When we saw this early this morning, it was a shock to us. What was your initial reaction?
Now, to give a little bit more details, because I did look at some of the allegations in there. So remember when Shannon Sharpe was like, he got exposed for having sex on Instagram Live? And apparently that woman he was having sex with, her name was Michelle. Apparently that's not the woman who's suing him. And apparently he had a situation with another woman who, at least in her assertion, she thought she was serious with him. And she also admits in the lawsuit that she didn't know he was sleeping with other people until he got exposed via that live. So, there's a way to look at this that some people are saying this is a salty woman, probably got her feelings hurt or got cut off somehow from Shannon. And because she doesn't want to just walk away with nothing, she's now making these allegations. Granted, these allegations claim that she was sexually assaulted. By the way, this is his girlfriend, right? She's claiming she was his girlfriend. She's claiming she was sexually assaulted over a span of time where I think, most people would say, if someone sexually assaulted you, why would you stick around and get sexually assaulted like a crap ton more of times? But still that's the case. And, she's going to try to, make that case in court to say, yeah, the reason why I didn't leave is because I was scared or whatever the case is.
My initial reaction was the timing of it, to be honest. Before I read the lawsuit, just the timing of it for it to be filed, on Easter Sunday, that struck me as an unusual move. But then as I went through the lawsuit, the allegations are pretty disturbing. We don't know if they're true or not, but what's written in the complaint is pretty terrible stuff.
John, I have to say, to go after Shannon Sharpe, if you're Tony Buzbee, after what just happened with Jay-Z. Remember, he filed that lawsuit on behalf of a Jane Doe, a woman who claimed that she was 13 years old back in 2000 and was sexually assaulted by Jay-Z. That lawsuit was dropped, and it came after serious questions of her story and credibility surfaced, both by reporting by NBC News and evidence that was presented by Jay-Z's side. Jay-Z ended up suing this woman, suing Tony Buzbee as well. So now to go after Shannon Sharpe, another high-profile figure, does that tell you that he feels he has the evidence in this case?
Well, Mr. Buzbee is a pretty bold mover in this space. I mean, he seems to not be, shy about his decision making. So it could mean that he's got the goods in this particular case, or it could just be, kind of par for the course, and this is how he, handles his high-profile cases.
But and me and I know, you can't just file a frivolous lawsuit. You can't file a lawsuit to harass somebody. You have to believe the law, the facts. There's, there has to be some semblance of facts that you put forward in a complaint that pass on a motion to dismiss test. So he has to feel that he might not have all the evidence right now, but he has to feel confident in Jane Doe's account, right? Otherwise, he'd be breaking ethics rules.
Yeah, and the thing with these accounts, like in a sexual assault, just a Jane Doe against an individual.
So to further explain that, there's something called a Rule 11 for attorneys, which means, hey, listen, you have an ethical obligation to not file lawsuits, because what's happening right now is lawyers are picking up these cases or actually going out to seek clients, right? Like they're kind of like pocket watching. They're like, who got the bread right now? They find somebody with the bread. Maybe that person is loud, boisterous. Maybe that person, talks about them liking women or has a promiscuous lifestyle, especially someone who's not married. That's why these days I've talked to some people in the industry. They're like, yo, listen. They're like, over the last couple of years, I'm telling you, these are real conversations I've had. They're like, yo, we used to be like, damn, yeah, we're not in the game no more. We're on the sidewalk because we with wife and kids. But they said, after seeing where things are now, the only people safe are people married with wife and kids that don't wildly cheat all the time. Because what's happening now, the single men who are just fucking girl, and it happens that you're probably fucking women who you don't trust that much, but you're just getting a nut off. Them women, if they link up with the right attorney, them chicks start coming at you. And that's been happening more and more. So these lawyers are going out to seek some of these women. So I would imagine, again, this is just my speculation, don't have any proof of it. Tony Busby was probably like, yo, who's really getting the bag right now? They probably hear some rumors that Shannon Sharpe's about to get a bag, and they're like, yo, we got to find a woman who has fucked him. They find the perfect one. Some chick who felt she got cut off, or she got like the short end of the stick. Because at the end of the day, and I would hope Shannon Sharpe would even admit, bro, you ain't getting girls because of your looks. You're getting girls because of, your fame, your status, which are things that are valid things to get, women off because women care about them. But when they date you, they don't want to leave high and dry. It's not like, all right, catch you later. All right, this was great, so we're just going to move on. It kind of turns into this vindictive, like, well, I need something to leave. It's like a severance package damn near, right? Anyway.
It's really hard to get rid of that case on a motion to dismiss or even down the road on a motion for summary judgment, because if you have your client who's saying, this is what happened to me, and then in this case, say Mr. Sharpe says, no, that's not what happened, it was very different, that's really a trial issue. That's not something a judge is really going to dismiss on motion. So other types of cases that have more subtle elements to them maybe can get dismissed on motion, but this kind of thing is really hard for a defendant to get rid of short of trial.
By the way, our content shows just how rampant crime is right now, and that is especially true in network operation business. By the way, before we get into the context of the suit, Jane Doe, so filing under Jane Doe, a pseudonym, typically speaking, how likely is it that she will be able to continue moving forward in this litigation anonymously? I know in the Sean Combs case, several courts have said that the Jane Does and possibly even the John Does have had to come forward and reveal their identities. Talk to me about what the interests, the different factors the court will look at, and whether or not Jane Doe would be able to proceed anonymously.
Yeah, I'd say at best it's 50-50 that she's able to proceed in that fashion. I mean, generally speaking, there's a strong preference in the courts for transparency and open proceedings. That includes using your real name in the lawsuit. If you can convince a court that there's a public interest in keeping her name from the public, which can be something like safety issues, it can be the shame of the situation, if it's the age of the person, quite often if they're underage, you're much more likely to be able to keep the pseudonym. But in this kind of a case where it's one adult against another, unless there's any particular safety harms, it's not an easy thing to be able to convince a judge to keep it as a Jane Doe.
Yeah, and I've seen the argument put forward by the judge. Basically, if you are choosing to file a lawsuit and you are putting this celebrity in the spotlight, the defendant has a right to defend himself, to investigate your claims, to investigate you. You're the one who chose to file the lawsuit and put your credibility at issue. So you should have to be able to proceed with your name and your identity being exposed. But again, there are certain factors to consider. And by the way, when we talk about Tony Buzbee, let's not forget, he filed numerous lawsuits on behalf of others against Sean Combs. That's how his name has really come up in the news in the past several years, right? He held that press conference where he said that he was representing so many, dozens and dozens of accusers against Sean Combs. So now I want to dig into what this lawsuit has to say. So Tony Buzbee, let me just say this, known for his flamboyant speech in his civil filings. And in this one doesn't appear to be any exception because it begins, a woman can say yes to consensual sexual relations with a man 99 times, but when she says no, even once, that no means no. Defendant Shannon Sharpe, a man who's accustomed to getting what he wants, completely fails to understand this basic concept. After many months of manipulating and controlling plaintiff, a woman more than 30 years younger than he, and repeatedly threatening to brutally choke and violently slap her, Sharpe refused to accept the answer no and raped plaintiff, despite her sobbing and repeated screams of no. According to the complaint, Jane Doe worked out at this same gym as Shannon Sharpe in Los Angeles, and she was 19 at the time. This is what she claims. And she claims that he had been watching her during her workouts and finally introduced himself, insisting that she give him her number. And the filing says that Jane Doe found Sharpe, quote, physically intimidating. The lawsuit reads, over the next couple of weeks, Sharpe incessantly pursued plaintiff. He constantly approached her at the gym and attempted to contact her frequently with phone calls and text messages asking to meet up, unwilling to take no for an answer. Eventually, plaintiff gave in and agreed to meet with Sharpe outside of the gym. However, before doing so, Sharpe demanded that Doe sign a non-disclosure agreement, or NDA, something plaintiff found a bit concerning. She wondered why Sharpe was so insistent on her signing an NDA. She refused. Despite his repeated efforts to get her to sign, she refused time and again. Eventually, he dropped the issue and invited her to his house. Now, the lawsuit claims that this relationship between Sharpe and Jane Doe, again more than 30 years his junior, was consensual, but it was rocky. She said he'd insisted they were exclusive, but then was caught multiple times lying about his whereabouts and who he was seeing. According to the filing, quote, by October 2024, Sharpe's behavior had grown progressively worse beyond anything plaintiff had experienced with him before. At this point, he was insistent upon recording their sexual activities, sometimes without her knowledge. Sharpe was also sharing the videos with others without her permission or knowledge. Sharpe would repeatedly tell Doe that he wanted to do to her things that would make no other man want her. By this point, Sharpe was no longer able to credibly maintain the relationship was exclusive. He had at this point accidentally or purposely, to advance his career, went live on Instagram while having sex with another woman. Sharpe flew into fits of anger when plaintiff noted his infidelity to the relationship or called him out about his extraneous activities. What had once become manipulation, control, and intimidation now became something far more dangerous and sinister. Sharpe even figured out how to get into Doe's apartment complex without her permission. Sharpe made it clear that what Doe wanted was of no moment, that Sharpe would get what he wanted when he wanted it. In October 2024, Shannon Sharpe violently sexually assaulted and anally raped plaintiff 2 different times in Las Vegas, Nevada, blatantly ignoring her request for him to stop. He did it again in January. Now, before I get into what the claims for relief are here, first, John, you're blatantly ignoring her request for him to stop. 2 different times in Las Vegas, Nevada, blatantly ignoring her request for him to stop. He did it again in January. Now, before I get into what the claims...
So she's saying he raped her in October, then like 3 months later in January.
For relief are here. First, John, your thoughts on that narrative put forward by Jane Doe.
Yeah, I mean, it's deliberately graphic narrative. There's nothing inherently wrong with going into that level of detail in these types of cases to kind of get the court's attention on how serious this is. But it's probably on the more graphic side of the scale in terms of these types of pleadings.
If there are recordings, how would she be able to get access to them, and how could that help her case?
Well, when she gets into civil discovery, she can demand copies of those. Whether they exist or ever existed, we don't know. But if they do exist, he'll be required to produce those. I mean, those could be significant. I mean, if you have videotapes of either non-consensual behavior or behavior that regardless of how it appears, looks like there's surreptitious recordings of somebody. I mean, that's definitely something that would look really bad for any defendant.
Is it problematic for her that they were in a relationship? You know, he talks about in the beginning of the lawsuit, a woman could say yes 99 times. If she says no once and you continue on, that's sexual assault, that's rape. Do you believe that them being in a consensual relationship for a long period of time or a period of time, do you believe that, according to her claims, even after being asked to sign an NDA, she nonetheless engaged in a relationship with him? Do you think that hurts her credibility?
I don't think it hurts her credibility. I think it.
Wait. NDA. Do you believe that them being in a consensual relationship for a long period of time or a period of time, do you believe that, according to her claims, even after being asked to sign an NDA, she nonetheless engaged in a relationship with him? Do you think that hurts her credibility?
So she signed an NDA?
I don't think it hurts her credibility. I think it's something that a defendant can use to their advantage to show the number of times that there was consensual sexual behavior, as a suggestion that maybe these instances are being manipulated for the purpose of financial gain. So it's not quite as bright line as if though there had been never any sexual contact between the two of them. But maybe if this was 25 years ago, it'd be more of a problem. I think these days jurors have an understanding that people in intimate relationships can also be victims of sexual violence. So I wouldn't call it a big problem, but it's something that could be manipulated.
I'm just reading this January 2025 alleged sexual assault. It's pretty disgusting. I mean, she basically says that she was begging for him to stop. He became more aggressive. He wouldn't wear protection, and that.
Why would she stay for months though?
This sexual assault lasted roughly 10 minutes. I'm not going to get into the details of it. How does she prove that? Is it just her testimony? Is it that if she told anybody, let's say she didn't tell anybody, didn't tell authorities, is it just her testimony against his? I mean, will that be the key of it, her taking the stand and explaining this happened to her?
That's going to be the center of it for the both of them. They both have the ability to describe what did or didn't happen, and it's going to be believability. Like you said, if she did tell somebody, that's helpful. If she sought any sort of medical treatment, that's also helpful. But it's also possible that neither of those things happen. It just becomes one person's word against another.
So she is suing for assault, sexual assault, battery, sexual battery, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. I imagine there's probably no statute of limitations issue since this is alleged to have occurred in 2023. Are these relatively broad causes of action, specific causes of action? Are they particularized in any way? Talk to me about what you believe about these causes of action that she's suing under.
I mean, that matches the facts of what she's alleged. I think they're relatively specific to the information that's in the complaint. So, that's the kind of collection of claims I would expect any attorney to bring, given those facts that they laid out in the complaint.
And the defense would be that either this didn't happen or it was consensual, right?
Right. That's pretty much the two options. Most of the time these days, because of things like, DNA or other ways to corroborate some sort of sexual activity, consent becomes the number one defense. So that's what we see most of the time.
Remember when I said this was a $50 million lawsuit? So I want to read you what she's suing for. General damages in the sum of excess of $10 million, special damages in the sum of excess $10 million, punitive damages $20 million, statutory penalties $10 million. How do that feels like a lot of money. I mean, now that you also wonder, how do you put a price on if this really did happen? How do you put a price on sexual assault? But at the same time, $50 million for general, special, punitive, statutory penalties. Talk to us about what those mean and whether or not those would be appropriate in a situation like this.
Yeah, so the general damages are going to be her emotional distress damages. So what's the general impact to her now and kind of for the years to come? as a result of going through this. If this happened, and I want to underscore, we don't know if this happened, but if this happened, $10 million does not seem to me like an excessive amount of emotional distress damages. I mean, this is something that would stay with somebody for the rest of their life and be a significant struggle at various points in their life. The special damages are going to be economic losses. Those can be harder to establish. I mean, you'd have to use an economist to try to talk about how this is going to impact somebody's future career and their therapy, psychiatry, that sort of thing. It might be difficult to get up to $10 million for the special damages. The punitive damages, $20 million, those are damages that are just designed to punish somebody for their conduct. And again, if what has been outlined in the complaint is accurate, I could see a jury awarding that sum. We talked about a case the other day where there's $1.7 billion that was awarded for against one individual. That was for 40 women, but still was about $42 million per plaintiff. So the punitive damage figure is high. I mean, these are all really high numbers, but they're not. I don't think they're inappropriate in terms of what they have in the complaint. I'm not sure what the statutory penalties are, what they're referring to. That's probably something that's specific to Nevada law.
Interesting. Well, actually, talking about other lawsuits, by the way, in this filing, in Busby's filing, it also mentions a lawsuit against Shannon Sharpe out of New York. This one was filed by a woman named Michelle Evans, who's representing herself. She filed her complaint in New York State Court in December 2023. The case is still ongoing. She's suing for defamation, libel, slander, slander of a woman, intentional infliction of emotional distress, negligent infliction of emotional distress, seeking at least $14 million in damages. And Evans makes many of the same claims against Sharpe that Jane Doe does, including that she tried to distance herself from him after learning he was having sexual relations with other women, but that he became enraged and attacked her. In fact, her lawsuit contains an alleged quote from Shannon Sharpe that matches, I will say, almost word for word, a line in Jane Doe's complaint. So Evans' lawsuit says that Sharpe told her during a sexual assault that, quote, he would make it so no other man would want me. Again, you just heard that. Jane Doe's lawsuit reads, Sharpe would repeatedly tell Doe that he wanted to do to her things that would make no other man want her. And Evans' complaint also states Michelle Evans was subjected to non-consensual sexual encounters, which in itself is a deeply traumatic experience that has resulted in long-term psychological harm, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, severe anxiety, and depression. The trauma is exacerbated by the public defamatory statements made by Shannon Sharpe, which have led to public humiliation, loss of dignity, and a sense of betrayal. And she even provided a chart showing how Sharpe's alleged actions impacted her. According to a sworn affidavit from Sharpe, he denies the allegations that Michelle Evans has laid against him, says it was actually Evans who was manipulative and threatening, says that she was harassing him via text messages and phone calls. So it makes me wonder, since at the time of this recording, John, we're still like, this is breaking news. We haven't seen a response yet from Shannon Sharpe. Could come out later after we air this. What do you imagine you're going to hear from him or his side?
Well, first of all, I think that they're going to be careful about saying too much right now. They're going to probably strongly deny the allegations and look forward to their day in court and maybe some other strong language. But I expect it to be somewhat generalized and not responding to some of the individual facts of the case. In regards to that other lawsuit, what they're probably going to say is, well, sure, it lines up. Mr. Busby had the opportunity to read this lawsuit before drafting his own, so that's the reason why they match up. So I would expect down the road we may hear something like that from the Sharpe camp.
Yeah, I was wondering. I mean, there's two ways of looking at it. You could say someone could say I accept that both of these accounts are legitimate. Obviously, they would say Shannon Sharpe has a pattern here. He says the same things. He does the same things. Or alternatively, this Jane Doe read that lawsuit and said, oh, she claimed that, I'll claim that. It's you piggyback off of it. Do you think that this is a case that would be advantageous for him to settle? I mean, obviously, we do not know what happened, right? He could say none of this is true. I want to fight. I want to clear my name, go through litigation, expensive. There's an emotional toll. There's a lot of different factors. But if you settle it, what message does that send?
Yeah, it's a tough situation because you don't want to settle it. You don't really want to go to trial on it either. I mean, going to trial in a year and a half and having all of this testimony come out, if it's consistent with what's in this complaint, if somebody feels like they've been wrongfully accused, they want to vindicate themselves, they want to prove their innocence in court. But from a PR standpoint, for somebody who's high profile like Mr. Sharpe, going to trial is going to be a difficult proposition for him. But what's the message of settling it? Maybe after things have calmed down, there might be a space to settle it and say, look, this was a business decision. I still don't believe anything what she's saying, but it was worth it to me to be able to move on with my life. And, and that's the messaging that you can have once the initial media calms down, but whether or not that's something he wants to.
I'm wondering what strategy he's going to go with, because the only strategies that seemingly ever worked is the Jay-Z strategy, which is a very heavy overhand approach where you're getting at the lawyer, because it's basically the lawyer that's kind of going hard with this, and they're also trying to match it up to things to try to embarrass you. So I'm wondering if Shannon Sharpe is going to try to pull a book out of the Jay-Z, or page out of the Jay-Z book, and how he handled it, because I'm gonna be honest with you, Jay is probably the only person or black celebrity that I think we all feel like he did such a good job of shutting that shit down that I don't think people even associate the accusation with him anymore, or even think it was remotely true. So, and that was basically because of the aggressive way his lawyers handled it. So I don't know if Shannon Sharpe is going to do that. I don't know if he's going to settle. I don't know if he's going to take it to court, but he's just not going to, try to play hardball. We will see. I'll have the lawsuit pulled up for next time, but it's just a complaint. It's clear. It's on face value, and I could read some of the why don't I have the full thing here? Oh, by the way, Shannon Sharpe did put out a statement. He said this. He says, statement by Lanny J. Davis, who's a counsel of Shannon Sharpe. He says, I want you to put a dog collar on my neck and choke me with it while you're fucking me. That's Gabrielle Zuniga. And by the way, that's supposedly the woman suing him. Gabriella Zuniga. Let's Google her name. Gabriella Zuniga. And clearly he's putting out her name to kind of... So this chick says she's not the one. Who is the Gabrielle Zuniga then? Let's Google her name. I know Twitter probably found that person. But Shannon Sharpe basically put out the message and kind of like, he's almost damn near identifying her. That's a Spanish name? I never heard of Zuniga before. All right, we can't find it. It's all good. Okay. Then... And that was on October 7th, 2023. Now, what this is establishing is that Shannon Sharpe was having sex with this woman for years. If he stopped fucking her maybe in January of this year, he was fucking her for close to 2 years. She also texted him, I know you missed this big juicy ass, $25K for each cheek. Her in a text message this year in January. So the lawsuit filed by Gabrielle Zuniga and orchestrated by her attorney, Tony Busby, is a blatant and cynical attempt to shake down Mr. Sharpe for millions of dollars. It's filled with lies, distortions, and misrepresentations, and it will not succeed. In her effort to extract a large financial settlement, Ms. Zuniga presented Mr. Sharpe with a secretly recorded video of a consensual sexual encounter. So supposedly she has a video of them fucking, and she's trying to, put it out. He said, we believe the video was heavily edited and taken entirely out of context, crafted to falsely portray a consensual act as non-consensual. Oh, wow. Now, this is really important. You got to read between the lines on this chat. You have to. Number one, this statement came out today. By the way, they dropped the lawsuit, or the lawsuit started making a lot of news while Shannon Sharpe was at ESPN about to go live. So they did it perfect where this now press release, before it probably went through all the system for the federal court or wherever it went. Shannon Sharpe is on First Take Live. And now this is the biggest conversation, which I'm pretty sure they're going to study his body language or whatever, because somebody probably tells him his ear. I don't know if they would, or they'll just like, yo, finish your show, then we got to talk to you, bro. Like, don't look at your phone. Just finish your show. We'll holler at you afterwards. But they drop it while he's on air, right? They drop it while he's on air, but literally less than like 2 or 3 hours afterwards, his counsel puts up this. What does this tell me? It tells me that Shannon Sharpe knew about this lawsuit. They probably came to Shannon Sharpe before to say, pay us this. Shannon Sharpe probably said, eat a fucking dick. And that's why they already kind of had this prepared. And when I mean they had this prepared already, they're quoting text messages from 2023. Here's what this also tells me as well, chat. It tells me that Shannon Sharpe's a wild boy. He used to be having some really, like, I don't know what type of sex you want to call it. Some fucking Kunta Kinte motherfucking what do you call it again? 12 years of slavery type of sex with this girl, because you got to connect the dots here. He says she has a video of them fucking, but he claims she edited the video that it doesn't look like it's consensual. Now, here's the thing. When we think about sexual assault, there's no way sexual assault looks consensual, right? Unless maybe the person's just like out of it, right? And even then, that's not consensual, right? It's like we're usually thinking someone pushing someone off. I don't get too graphic in it, but like we're not thinking like a woman is having fun, right? Shannon Sharpe is saying that the video looks non-consensual. So we got to think about what non-consensual looks like. It's maybe a woman in pain, a woman pushing off, a woman saying no, right? Like if that's caught on video, he's saying, well, the text messages give context. She was requesting. Now this goes into the Andrew Tate shit. Like Andrew Tate and one of the girls he was dealing with, she used to tell him that she was into this kink of him beating her with a belt. Now, when people started disliking Andrew Tate, they clipped the thing, forgot about the thing where she's saying she was cool with some of the sexual kink stuff, and just said, look, Andrew Tate's beating this woman right before having sex with her. And they're like, whoa, this guy's a predator. So it appears that Shannon Sharpe is having this kinky sex, but this kinky sex looked like she's into as well, because she's saying it. I want you to put a dog collar around my neck and choke me with it. So it's very loaded here, but you got to read between the lines. There's probably a video, which, by the way, probably looks horrible. And I could imagine that Shannon Sharpe was weighing for months. Do I pay this, or do I allow this to come out in at least a lawsuit? Because now the lawsuit's out, you never know if the video gets out. Here's what we got to imagine is on that video. Shannon Sharpe is like how tall is Shannon Sharpe? How tall is Shannon Sharpe? Shannon Sharpe is a 6'2", super muscular dude. And if there's a video of him having his hands around a woman who I would imagine she's either petite or no matter what, she's not as big as him. Like, look at this guy. If you see this guy with his hand around her neck, or she has a collar and he's yanking on it, bro, it's going to be hard to sell that as consensual. And that's why I think they put that text message there, where they could be like, yo, she was requesting some of this freaky shit that she's going to put out a edited video of only when she's getting choked. She ain't going to put out the other videos or the other parts of the video where she's not getting choked. She's going to have this edited video where it looks like I'm doing something to her non-consensual. You get what I'm saying? Chat, you got to think about the statement. It all makes sense. The first thing they put is, I want you to put a dog collar around my neck. I don't know what type of sex Shannon Sharpe has with these women. Not here to police the type of sex another man has in his bedroom. Of course, we expect that sex between two parties, whether female and female, men and men, or men and women, which is the more norm, should be consensual. But some of these niggas got their kinks, right? Some of these niggas got their kinks. And I don't know if that's, and here's the funny thing too, because there's some women that's into what's called BDSM, this bondage stuff, and they might be like, no, just tie me up when you fuck me. shit, I ain't gonna lie, with the age and day we're in, like, you might have to have her sign a waiver, or you might have to film the entire thing yourself just to have some context on, no. You hear her say, babe, could you tie me up? Could you put a handcuff on me? Whatever. Because, and there's so much questions raised here. How does she have this video? Did she record the video? Where was the video recorded at? Was it at Shannon's house, her house? Was it at a hotel? How did she get her hands on this video? Did Shannon send the video to her? But it looks like they came to Shannon Sharpe and his team. They sent the edited video saying, we have this video of you fucking our client and you're choking the living hell out of her while you're fucking her. Nobody with a brain would say that's consensual. Just pay up. Give us, and I ain't gonna lie to you. I do think they got some shit. I'm not saying Shannon did a motherfucking thing wrong. I'm saying they have some things that they feel could be taken out of context or could be used to sway the public opinion of the truth. That's why, bro, they're asking for $50 million. We heard about this like 30 million. Some people say 50 with the Cassie shit. But some people say it was like around 10. Diddy's way richer than Shannon Sharpe. If they're so confident trying to go get $50 million, not only are they probably pocket watching to see he's about to get this other deal, they're probably thinking, yo, we got we have so much shit that if it got out, you're done. So, yes, we want even extra for that, that's crazy. You get what I'm saying? Okay, let's keep reading. We believe the video has been heavily edited and taken out of context, crafted to falsely portray a consensual act as non-consensual. Mrs. Zuniga has provided a copy of the full, has refused to provide a copy of the full unedited version of the recording to Sharpe's legal team. To set the record straight, we are releasing several of her own explicit text messages to Sharpe that clearly indicate the nature of the relationship was consensual and sexual in nature. And in many cases, initiated by her with specific and graphic requests. Contrary to the allegations she makes in her lawsuit, consensual sex continued till January 2nd, 2025, the day after she asked for $25,000 per cheek. As quoted above from her text message to Mr. Sharpe, there are other examples of texts from Ms. Zuniga. For example, only if you put that baby gravy in me, then I could do whatever I want. Then it says, what? Only if you put that baby gravy in me, then I can do whatever I want to me. Text from Mrs. Zuniga to Shannon Sharpe on November 23rd, 2023. I want to put my tongue in your asshole, then marry you. Text from Gabrielle Zuniga to Shannon Sharpe, January 12th, 2024. That's my daddy. Hold on, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second, child. It's my nice police department. I'm going to have to play a video. I got to go do something because the police here. Streaming shit, I'll come back and read the rest of these. Just give me... Somebody said, brother, love got me? Nah. The police department here, they're very courteous. I think they all know me now. They know I stream. I think they even know I'm on stream. They're like... Hey. Yeah. Okay. Shout to understanding police departments. And this is why you got to be also understanding of their job too. Okay, perfect. So, where were we? So the text from her, this is the 23rd. I want you to put your tongue in. I want to put my tongue in your asshole, then marry you. Now, this is also kind of important. This seems like a woman that probably was not only fucking him to fuck him, but she probably was gaining a lot of feelings. This was happening they're fucking for like 2-3 years. She started to catch feelings. She knows he's a freak. He wants to tie her up, do all type of stuff. I'm not saying, I mean, she's suggesting this stuff like, oh, let's do it. Sounds like she's down with it. But you always got to know, like, and we're speaking as men here. It's a method to the madness. These women want to eventually have a kid with you, want to have a family with you. And probably over time, as she realizes Shannon Sharpe is getting more and more popular, he's entertaining more and more women, then she's probably telling her girlfriends, nah, that's my man. Like, yeah, he just don't claim nobody. Matter of fact, they think he gay, but you know, that's my man. That's my dick. Pause. And then she gets embarrassed because all her friends hitting her saying, yo, why Shannon went live fucking another girl? What the fuck? So, you know, that probably starts some arguments. Probably tries to break it off, or she tries to break it off. And then, of course, this subsequently comes, right? It says, you better crave it because you're going to be stuck with it for life. Oh, my God. See? It's clear that she's not just like, oh, we're having fun, fucking, and that's it. She's almost saying, yo, yeah, we might be joking about having a baby, but we're serious about having a baby. We're serious about building a life together. So it says, you better crave it because you're going to be stuck with it for life after you put a big black baby in me. Text from Gabrielle Zuniga to Shannon Sharpe on August 11, 2024. These messages are just a sampling of a broader pattern of graphic sexual communications initiated by Ms. Zuniga. The evidence paints a clear picture. This was consensual. Adult relationship that included role-playing, sexual language, and fantasy scenarios explicitly requested by Ms. Zuniga. The edited tape that Ms. Zuniga secretly taped and showed to Mr. Sharpe during her blackmail attempt tries to falsely portray, as a result of this editing and out of context from prior messages, that the sexual activity was not consensual. But Mr. Sharpe now believes her secret taping was all part of her planned setup as part of her blackmail scheme. As distorted by her edited tape, a copy which she refused to make available for Mr. Sharpe or his counsel, Mr. Sharpe categorically denies all allegation of coercion or misconduct, especially the gross lie of rape, and will not submit to what he sees as an egregious attempt of blackmail. He stands firmly by the truth and is prepared to fight these false claims. Sorry, y'all. Sorry. Allergy season right now. These false claims vigorously in court. He looks forward to vindication through due process and a judgment based on the facts and the law. Okay. Somebody said, explain this in 2K terms. In NBA 2K terms, think of Shannon Sharpe as a 99 overall legend with a clean rep. Gabrielle Zuniga, a lesser-known player, accuses him of cheating with illegal mods, posting an edited clip to show him committing flagrant fouls. She demands $50 million in VC to drop it after already extorting $525K VC from him to stay quiet earlier. Sharpe has unedited gameplay footage and chat logs proving he played fair, showing Zuniga claims are fake. She kept spreading lies, leading to a formal complaint in the lawsuit. Now Sharpe's squad is fighting back. Hopefully the game mods, the courts, see through her tactics and clear his name. What the fuck? Is this an AI bot? Even Grok is on his side. So what archetype is he? In the NBA 2K analogy, Shannon Sharpe fits the two-way playmaker archetype. This archetype excels both at offense and defense, mirroring Shannon Sharpe's real-world roles. His media presence where he makes strong art. Okay, oh my God, all right. Hilarious. Do you think I should pull up it would take me a second, probably 3 or 4 minutes. Do you think I should pull up the full complaint? Shannon Sharpe, we read Shannon Sharpe's explanation, but clearly she's probably saying some freaky shit that Shannon Sharpe was doing. Now, granted, it could be all lies, and we have to take this with a grain of salt, right? Like, these lawsuits come out with, like, salaciousness. You get what I'm saying? Like, oh, he did this. He wanted to do this. But here's the thing. As people that are consuming media, sadly, we're entertained by some of these things like, oh, shit, he's into that? Could be fucking false. Shannon Sharpe is live right now? By the way, is he? No way. Oh, shit, he's live on Nightcap. Yeah, I don't think, his lawyer's going to say, bro, we're not talking about this. You know what's so funny? It was today that I found out that I'm blocked by Shannon Sharpe. Now, I don't think he blocked me today. I think I've been blocked. And I was switching accounts. I was like, why Shannon Sharpe deactivate? Like, why would you deactivate when they start saying this type of shit about you? Come to find out, I go incognito mode. His account's still there. His is blocked. He blocked all my profiles. I ain't gonna hold you, bro. I think he blocked me because I call him Zesty. But, like, I ain't really call him Zesty. I was just saying, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I was just saying, like, you know what I mean? I was just saying it was a little, like, that's my man, so that's Unc. That's Unc. Like, that's Unc. Still, that's Unc. But, like, you know what I mean? Like, I had called him a little, I said, yo, Unc, know damn well he's Zesty, so he leaked the tape to show us he was fucking bitches. I don't think he liked that. He blocked my ass. We all know a Zesty uncle. Nah, listen, I got to get cool with Shannon Sharpe because I want to be on the show. Actually, I don't care to be, really. But I really don't have a problem with Shannon Sharpe because I think he does good work. Damn, he blocked me? How come everybody was joking about him being gay? Remember when he hopped out of the thing and he was walking and he was like, nigga was like switching his hips? I was like, what the fuck? Shannon Sharpe hops out car. Y'all know what we talking about, the Chuck. When I seen this shit, I'm like, man, this is a cousin that Kanye was sucking off. I'm playing Shannon Sharpe. Just take a joke, bro. I'm a comedian. I'm a comedian now.
Today, we got up early. We don't make excuses, but today we finna go ahead and get a couple clients. We're gonna see what today consists of because we don't make excuses.
And then Shannon Sharpe had like this gay stylist who he was rocking with the whole time.
Made a business decision that, you know what, I'm going to front and center my gay stylist, Hollywood Simpson. I'm going to front and center a gay stylist who has been connected to publicly with several former professional football players. Why do I call that a business decision? Because anyone familiar with how Hollywood and the entertainment industry works, anyone who has wet their finger and stuck it in the air and figured out how corporate culture...
I thought he was going to say something else. Wet their finger and stuck it.
...works in America over the past decade, knew that the wind is blowing in the direction of everybody who calls themselves an ally of the LGBTQ. Shannon Sharpe made a business decision.
Anyway, I think that's why he blocked me. But that got nothing to do with this. Who cares if he unblocks me or whatever? I think the story is a little bit bogus. I think Shorty was dating him, got mad that he was fucking other women. Like, you know, every girl think their pussy is the best thing since pussy was invented. She probably thought, yo, I'm putting this pussy on him so good. Shannon Sharpe probably, like, he a big gorilla looking nigga, man. Like, that's probably been fucking women a lot since the NFL. Like, a lot of these niggas, they're so burnt out with fucking, they have all type of weird kinks. Just tickle my toes, baby, tickle my toes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, got all type of shit going on. So his shit might be like, let me put my dog collar around. Whatever. Like, he want to put a dog collar around her. He want to do whatever type of kinky shit to get his nut off or whatever. And I think she was probably down to acquiesce. Like, all right, you fucking freaky ass nigga. All right, we'll do it. Niggas, just get a collar from PetSmart, nigga. Just get it from Petco, okay? Just make sure you get the one that's like stretchable, because I don't want to get choked out here. You know what I mean? And I think she was down with it. She down with the thing. And then what probably happens is, you see a lot of times when you get like these little freaked out women who's down to do whatever to please you, these chicks, they're not doing it just because they love sex. They're doing it with like a mission in mind. All right, that's my nigga, but we gonna have kids. Or that's my nigga, but like, I know I'm gonna get a bag. That's my nigga, but like, yo, he about to marry me, whatever. Yo, Shannon Sharpe is probably cutting and fucking, like, just keep going through all these joints, you know what I mean? And she probably got cut off. And she's like, fuck that. I'm not going out like that. What the fuck? I ain't wear a damn dog leash this whole time for nothing. What the hell? Especially, here's the thing too. She's been cut off, and now she's hearing that he's about to get the real bag, the $100 million. Yeah, she's like, hold up now. Hold up. All right. Let me see. He's live right now. The good thing about, and we got to thank Jay-Z for this. Like, the overwhelming response I saw to people reacting to this was, yo, we don't believe this chick, bro.
Yeah, $70 million a year. So, man, like, he don't got no energies. Bird handled the ball. They cost him the game. What an exciting ball game as the round is yours. It's up from seeing him in the playoffs. Y'all know me. I'm your favorite unk. My co-host is your favorite number 85, the Liberty City legend, the Bingo Ring of Fame honoree, the Pro Bowler, the All-Pro. That's Chad Ocho Cinco Johnson. Also our contributor for all things.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
his mom.
He's not supposed to address it. I'm pretty sure his employers know and his business partners know. Like, hey, listen, he gonna stay low, but this ain't the thing he gonna address. He did address it with the statement, but him coming on here and riffing is probably not the best of idea. So I don't think he's doing nothing wrong. If you ask me, I kind of believe that Shorty's capping. Like, you know, here's a few questions that we never get to when we're reading these allegations, because these allegations are so quote unquote juicy. So you said you got raped months apart. Did you go to the police? We get it. You said he was intimidating, this and third. Outside of his presence, did he lock you in a dungeon? Did you get to go home? Did you get to go around your parents and your friends where you could feel safe? Did you go to the police? Did you get like a rape kit done? Did you have them investigated? Because that's how you would try to preserve some evidence. Did you try to get him locked up? Did the police find anything? Did you go to the police? Like, again, she's saying there's multiple months between like two specific rape events. Did you ever go to the cops? Not to blame the victim, but why'd you pop back up? If you're suffering all these things like PTSD, this and third, why the hell did you show back up? Sure, there's no pictures. Because some attorneys will put like explicit pictures in the shit. All right, bet. There's not. Okay, here it is. All right. They saw each other on his term, on his schedule, 4 times a week. She started seeing his true nature. She found him to be dishonest about his whereabouts. Yeah, he's a pimp. Of course, he's fucking all type of women. He would lie about see other women, insisting to her that they were exclusive, often manipulated her, at times being sweet and loving to get what he wanted, other times being angry and aggressive to achieve his goals. She discovered over time he was extremely emotional and possessed an uncontrollable temper. Yeah, roid rage, allegedly. He displayed characteristics of a true narcissist. Let's call it a rich-ass nigga. He wielded his power and influence and celebrity to control the plaintiff to get what he wanted whenever he wanted. All the while jealously guarding what he considered his for himself. By October 24, it got worse, and he was insistent. Okay, so this was where they're talking about the sexual assault. By this point, he was no longer able to credibly maintain that they was the exclusive. He had an accidental. Okay, they're talking about the leaking of the video. Okay, this is him, and then cool. All right. Now here are the factual allegations. That's where the good stuff is always at. According to New York lawsuit, okay, so they're referring to like this other lawsuit, which we didn't even know existed, but someone filed a lawsuit against him in New York. They're saying he live streamed in September 2024. Plaintiff discovered that Shannon Sharpe was secretly recording their sexual encounter without her consent. When she confronted him, he summarily dismissed her concerns, claiming the videos were for his own personal use. That too is a lie. He shared the videos with friends and associates. At one point, even forced the plaintiff to have sex with him on FaceTime while he was FaceTiming one of his childhood friends named Bucket. Whenever plaintiff would get up the courage to object to his outrageous conduct, which was not often, he would aggressively and angrily put her back in her place. He's not only a sports icon, he's something far worse, a flawed narcissistic individual who has spent years using his fame, power, and influence to manipulate, control, and subjugate and violate women. With this lawsuit, the plaintiff intends to put an end to the egregious conduct, okay? The beginning of a consensual but deeply manipulated relationship. That was 2023. Okay. So they met in the Los Angeles gym. She found Shannon Sharpe standing behind her. He told her he had noticed her at the gym, wondered why she hadn't introduced herself. So the first time they spoke, he was 54, and how old was she? It says during the first conversation, Sharpe proposed a challenge, a competition to see who could lean out faster. The prize, if the plaintiff won, he would buy her fake tits. Plaintiff was stunned. Okay. Shannon Sharpe made sure the plaintiff understood who he was, a celebrity and TV personality. Okay. Eventually, plaintiff gave in. He said he wanted her to come to his mansion. And then when she agreed, he said she could meet him outside the gym and made a demand that she had to sign non-disclosure. He refused to explain why and would not let her see a copy of the proposed agreement. Instead, he insisted she sign one. Plaintiff refused after multiple attempts. When he realized she would not cooperate, he finally dropped the issue. First night he went to the house, was on anything she ever dealt with, disturbing, unsettling. Okay. Plaintiff got to the house. Sharpe opened the door without a word, no greeting, no nothing. Without so much as looking at the plaintiff, he simply turned away from her after opening the door and walked upstairs. The plaintiff hesitated and followed, as she did not know anywhere to go. When they reached the bedroom, he pointed to the bed before disappearing into the bathroom and shutting the door behind him. He still ain't said a word to the plaintiff. She sat on the bed, waiting, unsure of what to expect or if she should leave. Roughly 5 minutes later, he finally emerged. Still didn't say anything and said he turned off all the lights and laid down on the bed. Uncomfortable and unsure what to do. For roughly about 10 minutes, there was nothing but silence. Then, without warning, he placed his hands on the plaintiff's neck from behind, pressed his erect penis against her body, and said his first words of the night. I knew from the first time I saw you that I was gonna fuck you. I'm laughing just because it just seems out of the blue. Doe and Sharpe then engaged in oral sex, and they did so. Doe at some point realized Shannon Sharpe was using his phone. He was apparently recording her. Plaintiff could see he was trying to be discreet, but obvious what he was doing. She said nothing, scared to confront him for what he might do or say. When it ended, he rolled over and went to sleep. At some point during the night, Shannon Sharpe woke up, grabbed the plaintiff by the vagina, and began having sex with her. Next morning, he woke up around roughly 4 a.m. to shoot a media segment for the sports television. He woke the plaintiff up and told her she needed to leave, but informed her that she had to be back at 9 p.m. exactly. The following night, plaintiff arrived at Shannon Sharpe's house at approximately 9:05, just 5 minutes past the time he had demanded. The moment he opened the door, Plaintiff experienced his first rage. He immediately launched into a verbal assault, screamed at the plaintiff, berating her for what felt like hours. He accused her of disrespecting him, wasting his time, and warned that if she wanted to be with the Shannon Sharpe, she would have to learn obedience. Plaintiff was terrified and feared for her physical safety. Still enraged, Shannon Sharpe turned off the lights, grabbed her by the neck, and just like the night before, began having sexual intercourse with her. This cycle of control, fear, and submission became a routine, yelling at her, controlling her, forcibly grabbing her by the neck, saying he was going to kill her, and a certain dominance became the norm. Over the next year and a half, plaintiff saw Shannon at his house often as 4 times a week. He would treat her like an object, continue to control her, not just physically, but emotionally and psychologically. He demanded complete control over her at time and body, and expected her to be at his house on his schedule and at his command whenever he called. The verbal abuse never stopped. He would berate and degrade her, just as he had from the beginning. Over time, specifically, he was yelling at her while there was a firearm visible in the room. Terrified for her safety, she tried sharing her location with friends from her iPhone just in case he saw her doing this. The moment he realized she was doing this, he grabbed her neck, says, "If you ever do that again, I'll fucking kill you." Okay. Now they're saying 2024 summer, that's when the relationship becomes fearful and non-consensual. The aggression went so crazy. He says the plaintiff was with her friends. They could hear Shannon Sharpe yelling over the phone and would ask if she was safe and if she was okay. In the summer of 2024, plaintiff and Sharpe moved to Las Vegas for their own reasons. Shannon Sharpe liked to say the plaintiff followed him to Vegas, but that too is a lie. Wow, they're even making counter arguments. Shannon Sharpe has never said nothing, but I guess there's text messages that probably say that. Once in Vegas, Shannon Sharpe again insisted the plaintiff sign an NDA. She refused, and again he persisted. After enough resistance, he let it go and continued seeing her multiple times a week. His behavior did not change. It was erratic, controlled, and verbally abusive, all while telling the plaintiff he was committed to a sexually exclusive relationship with her. Then in September 2024, he humiliated the plaintiff. He live streamed himself having sex with another woman on Instagram for over 1.1 million followers to see. He later made jest of the incident on the podcast Club Shay Shay and the show Nightcap, but for the plaintiff, it was anything but funny. He had repeatedly assured her they were in an exclusive relationship. This was a lie that not only hurt her emotionally, made her fear for her sexual health and risk of sexually transmitted diseases. At one point, the plaintiff began to pull away from Sharpe. She stopped answering phone calls and stopped telling him where she was going to be when he would demand to know. Plaintiff's feeble attempts at freedom and independence further upset Sharpe. He began flooding her phone with calls, demanding to know where she was at. He called relentlessly, multiple times per hour. The harassment became so unbearable. The plaintiff frequently began leaving Nevada to cut off communication, resist his efforts to control her, in an attempt to reclaim some of her controlled life. Took courage. All right, cool. So on October 6th, he supposedly sexually assaults her, right? Plaintiff was working out of the Nevada gym, following her routine. As she worked out, she saw Shannon Sharpe aggressively approaching her. She could tell by his look and the way he moved quickly towards her that he was furious for having been ignored. As soon as he got close, he told her, "Sit the fuck down or I'm going to kill you." Plaintiff refused. He said, "I don't want to talk to you. You cheated on me." His response was dismissive and control as usual. "You don't have a choice." He demanded they talk in private. Again, the plaintiff told him no. She made it clear she didn't want to talk to him or be alone with him or want him come into her home. But Shannon Sharpe didn't care. He never took no for an answer. He forced the plaintiff under threat to get in his car and go to her house. Once he was in her apartment, the plaintiff tried to keep the conversation in the living room, but Sharpe refused. He demanded to go to the bedroom. She said no. He didn't listen or care. Once inside the bedroom, he grabbed her from behind and forcibly positioned her for oral sex. He held her in place and forced her to begin performing. After he became even angrier and said, "You disrespected me so much, I'm going to punish this asshole." Wow. "I'm going to make it so no man will want you again." Plaintiff at this point was crying and sobbing. Tears streamed down her face as Shannon Sharpe repositioned her and took her from behind and inserted his penis into her anus. As he forcibly anally raped her, he said, "Turn around and look at me." Shannon Sharpe grabbed her head, forcing her to look at him, and she sobbed. He said at this point, "Look at me. Look at my arm. I've got chills. This is how good it is." Shannon Sharpe forced himself on the plaintiff, R-worded her, raped her. Despite her sobbing in agony as it happened, he told her in the moment she was crying that the experience was so good, It was giving him chills. Shannon Sharpe's behavior demonstrates that he believes the plaintiff to be his personal property, possessed and owned by him. He also believed that the laws didn't apply to him, as he could take what he wanted and no one could or would stop him. He was and is wrong. In Jan 2025, he sexually assaults and rapes the plaintiff, ignoring her screams and refusing to wear a condom. In January 2nd, 2025, he told the plaintiff he wanted to see her. Sharpe insisted and reminded the plaintiff that he had a combined Christmas and birthday gift to give to her, as he previously promised her a gift. He ultimately allowed him to come over to the apartment, and she regrets that decision. Once inside the apartment, Sharpe began undressing. Plaintiff firmly stated that multiple times that they would not have sex without protection, demanding that he wore a condom. She knew that in the past he refused to ever use condoms, and she believed that her demand would stop him from having sex with her. But although he refused to use a condom, he insisted on sex. She tried to resist him. She screamed. She had expressed concerns for her safety, knowing that he had been involved with other women. Sorry, Chad. Increasing the risk of transmitted disease. All right, he grabbed her, pulling her, whatever. He repositioned her forcibly, forcing himself inside of her. Plaintiff never stopped demanding and begging that he stop or put on a condom. He ignored her as soon as he penetrated her. Plaintiff screamed out and sobbed. Her cries for help did not stop Sharpe. Lasted around 10 minutes, only ended when Sharpe ejaculated inside of her. Plaintiff cried and began repeatedly for him to stop. Plaintiff left Nevada after the assault. Plaintiff brings these calls of action into the honorable court to whatever. So she's claiming it did start off consensually. Then he supposedly raped her twice. Once in October, after the whole leaks thing happened in September, and then once again in January. I'm still calling BS on this. I'm still calling BS. In all these situations, we don't see these people go to the cops. We don't see, I called the cops. We don't see any mention of law enforcement, which is kind of surprising. The prayer for relief, which is how much they want, 10, 20, 10, which is $50 million. Then they want attorney fees and cost of litigation covered. They want interest at a statutory rate and other reliefs that the court or the jury deems necessary. Okay. Chad, I don't believe one bit of that bullshit, man. I don't lie to you. It goes for reads for a good story, but would I say it's true? I personally wouldn't, right? All right.